As always, like our YouTube channel and check out our content on the Phantom Facebook page throughout the week. Let's dive right in with some fantasy analysis for the Cowboys. Some clear starters, as we know. Ezekiel Elliott in the defense. To me, the guy that's surprising is Cole Beasley. 9 catches, over 100 yards, and 2 scores last week against the Jaguars. To me, Prescott's finding a rhythm, finding him. I think he's doing really well to establish PPR value, and to me, he's a very solid PPR wide receiver 3 or flex play. For the Redskins, they're very limited in terms of fantasy options. Jordan Reed's one, if he's healthy, which he is right now, and Chris Thompson, who's a little banged up. So if he gets healthy and gets active for this game, I would certainly play Thompson. But let's go to Jordan Reed, because when this guy's on the field, he's one of the better tight ends in the league. Vernon Davis scored last week against the Panthers. It's time for Reed to step up and show that production, especially while he's on the field, because we know he's going to miss a few games this season because of injury. So it's time for Reed to step up and improve on these numbers from 2018. What I like in this game is the Redskins to take the game 24-17. I like their wins a little bit better than the Cowboys' wins on the season, as they've knocked off the Panthers and Packers at home, while the Cowboys have now beaten the Jaguars at home. But remember, the Jaguars struggled and lost to the Chiefs. They didn't score any points in the first half, and they really struggled against the Cowboys. So give me the Redskins 24-17. So for all that, we'll see what comes out on during the weekend on Sunday. Hopefully the Redskins and the Cowboys give us a good one. For more coverage throughout the week, check out the Phantom Facebook page, like our YouTube channel, and enjoy the game this coming weekend. Adam Kuda here with an all-out blitz preview of the Week 7 showdown between the Redskins and the Cowboys, the bitter rivals in the NFC East. As always, like our YouTube channel and check out our content on the Phantom Facebook page throughout the week. Let's dive right in with some fantasy analysis for the Cowboys. Some clear starters, as we know. Ezekiel Elliott in the defense. To me, the guy that's surprising is Cole Beasley. 9 catches, over 100 yards, and 2 scores last week against the Jaguars. To me, Prescott's finding a rhythm, finding him. I think he's doing really well to establish PPR value, and to me, he's a very solid PPR wide receiver 3 or flex play. For the Redskins, they're very limited in terms of fantasy options. Jordan Reed's one, if he's healthy, which he is right now, and Chris Thompson, who's a little banged up. So if he gets healthy and gets active for this game, I would certainly play Thompson. But let's go to Jordan Reed, because when this guy's on the field, he's one of the better tight ends in the league. Vernon Davis scored last week against the Panthers. It's time for Reed to step up and show that production, especially while he's on the field, because we know he's going to miss a few games this season because of injury. So it's time for Reed to step up and improve on these numbers from 2018. What I like in this game is the Redskins to take the game 24-17. I like their wins a little bit better than the Cowboys' wins on the season, as they've knocked off the Panthers and Packers at home, while the Cowboys have now beaten the Jaguars at home. But remember, the Jaguars struggled and lost to the Chiefs. They didn't score any points in the first half, and they really struggled against the Cowboys. So give me the Redskins 24-17. So for all that, we'll see what comes out on during the weekend on Sunday. Hopefully the Redskins and the Cowboys give us a good one. For more coverage throughout the week, check out the Phantom Facebook page, like our YouTube channel, and enjoy the game this coming weekend. Adam Kuda here with an all-out blitz preview of the Week 7 showdown between the Redskins and the Cowboys, the bitter rivals in the NFC East. As always, like our YouTube channel and check out our content on the Phantom Facebook page throughout the week. Let's dive right in with some fantasy analysis for the Cowboys. Some clear starters, as we know. Ezekiel Elliott in the defense. To me, the guy that's surprising is Cole Beasley. 9 catches, over 100 yards, and 2 scores last week against the Jaguars. To me, Prescott's finding a rhythm, finding him. I think he's doing really well to establish PPR value, and to me, he's a very solid PPR wide receiver 3 or flex play. For the Redskins, they're very limited in terms of fantasy options. Jordan Reed's one, if he's healthy, which he is right now, and Chris Thompson, who's a little banged up. So if he gets healthy and gets active for this game, I would certainly play Thompson. But let's go to Jordan Reed, because when this guy's on the field, he's one of the better tight ends in the league. Vernon Davis scored last week against the Panthers. It's time for Reed to step up and show that production, especially while he's on the field, because we know he's going to miss a few games this season because of injury. So it's time for Reed to step up and improve on these numbers from 2018. What I like in this game is the Redskins to take the game 24-17. I like their wins a little bit better than the Cowboys' wins on the season, as they've knocked off the Panthers and Packers at home, while the Cowboys have now beaten the Jaguars at home. But remember, the Jaguars struggled and lost to the Chiefs. They didn't score any points in the first half, and they really struggled against the Cowboys. So give me the Redskins 24-17. So for all that, we'll see what comes out on during the weekend on Sunday. Hopefully the Redskins and the Cowboys give us a good one. For more coverage throughout the week, check out the Phantom Facebook page, like our YouTube channel, and enjoy the game this coming weekend. Adam Kuda here with an all-out blitz preview of the Week 7 showdown between the Redskins and the Cowboys, the bitter rivals in the NFC East. As always, like our YouTube channel and check out our content on the Phantom Facebook page throughout the week. Let's dive right in with some fantasy analysis for the Cowboys. Some clear starters.
What up? What's going on, everybody? I'm Ari Temkin, and this is Showtime right here on Phantom. We are the new world order of sports media, bringing live sports coverage to you wherever you are. So thank you to all of you who are part of this show each and every day. Showtimers, the show is your show, so it's interactive. This is the most interactive Dallas Cowboys show out there. So hit the share button, post your comments, tag your friends, because at Phantom, we're putting you in the center of the Dallas sports discussion, and today is a Football Friday, as it were, which has become cliched at this point, but nonetheless, Cowboys and Skins, we'll preview that game. Plus, I want to take a look at, philosophically, what the Cowboys are doing when it comes to personnel and if they've taken the right approach, that kind of thing. So I'm also going to get into that. So we'll preview Skins and Cowboys, and plus kind of discuss where the Cowboys are at philosophically when it comes to how they build their roster and whether or not that's the right approach given the current state of the NFL. So shout out to everybody watching this. Ilya Churn in the house. What's up, Ilya? Solar is watching. Marshall Young. Marshall Young says, fire Garrett, wins by 33 points. Don't fire him. Yeah, that's last week was pretty much all about firing Jason Garrett. But I think I pretty much put a stop to that on, I think, Wednesday-ish. Because then it was like, well, let's look at Jacksonville and are there ways they can beat them? So obviously this week has been less about let's fire Jason Garrett and more about, well, I wouldn't say less about, because I still think most fans, if they wanted Jason Garrett fired, still feel that way. They just probably were silenced a bit by the huge victory. And they're not going to fire a coach that has their team in competition, but I think ultimately, if this team doesn't win the division, doesn't compete for the playoffs, there will be upset fans that will call for Jason Garrett's head. What's up, Ilya? How are you? Beg your pardon, got to turn down the volume here. Tracy Foster says 17-13 Cowboys on Sunday. Post what you think it will take for the Cowboys to beat the Redskins. Thumbs up if you think the Cowboys win. Heart emoji if you think the Redskins win. And then post your score prediction. I'll give my prediction as we reach the tail end of the show today. But go ahead and hit the share button. Marshall Young says, nailed it, Ari. Well, I appreciate that, buddy. Go ahead and hit the share button if you have not yet already. I'm going to do that right now. Erica Shaney in the house. Jesse Garcia in the house. Shout out to everybody watching. Hold on, let me just go ahead and share this. Boom. And we are ready to roll. Jimmy Griffin says, bless. Dakota Stiegel says, yes, happy anniversary to you and your beautiful wife. Thank you, Dakota. I appreciate that. 5-year anniversary today. And my wife and I are going to be going to Nick and Sam's in downtown Dallas tonight, which, if anybody lives in the area, probably knows is a really, really, really good and well-known restaurant. But it's our first time going, so I'm excited about that. So thank you, Dak. I appreciate that. Do you mind if I call you Dak? Does anybody call you Dak, Dakota? Or are you now not wanting to be called Dak because of your dislike of the Cowboys quarterback? But Keith Stone in the house, the shared boss, Joe Tranchina, Neil Favre, thank you for wishing me a happy anniversary. Appreciate that. Kerry Teagle, what's up, buddy? Joe Tranchina predicts Dallas 30, Deadskins 10. G. Garcia says happy anniversary. Thank you. Phantom predicts the Redskins 20-17. I don't think Phantom's predicting that. So if you could go ahead, Phantom, and delete that, because Phantom is not officially predicting that. And if you don't know how to comment from your own personal account, then don't comment. All right, Adam says 20-17 Skins, which continues the weekly Adam Mancuda picking against the Dallas Cowboys. Joe Tranchina says happy anniversary. Thank you. My mother-in-law is watching. I don't mind. LOL, Dak isn't bad. I just don't think he's our quarterback in the least bit. All right. Eric Sharp says, what up, Ari? If our defense plays lights out, we take this W. Solar says 30-13. We win Sunday. We're winning the division. Stop the run. Boss over everything Sims says the score will be 38-24. Rodrigo Lopez, just trying to read through these comments real quickly, and then I'll make some points. Steve Easton, 28-17 Cowboys. Ilya Churn says, are we going to go back to sleep as an offense or keep it rolling like against the Jags? That's the ultimate question here. And so I think like part of that is, I talked about this yesterday, and Tavon Austin is a huge piece to what the Cowboys are doing on offense. Not just because of the production he brings, but because of the threat that he brings. So a lot of the Cowboys' pre-snap motion on offense is tied into Tavon Austin when it comes to motioning him, fake jet sweeps, fake handoffs, getting the ball down the field to him, whatever it is. He's the guy that's their number one from a standpoint of defenses have to game plan to figure out where he is. Okay, he's not been the most productive wide receiver for this team. So, when you look at the loss of Tavon Austin, I think to say, well, they're going to really miss him might overstate it from a production standpoint. But what he brings to the table is, the ability to keep defenses on their toes. And again, if you use, play motion to get with Zeke Elliott, that's great. But when you add another element to it like Tavon Austin, it's just way more dangerous and makes the Cowboys offense way more dangerous. By the way, Tavon Austin suffered a groin injury. He's going to miss at least the next 5 to 7 weeks. Now, if he has surgery, which I believe he's elected to not have surgery, but if he did have surgery, he'd be out the rest of the season. But it looks like he's not going to have surgery, so he could return the next 5 to 7 weeks. The question is, will they put him on short-term IR, or will they just make him inactive each week and basically he'll replace Bryce Butler replaces him because Butler's been the guy that's basically been inactive most of these weeks. Bruno Encinas on the America's Team Silver and Blue family page says it would take that our defense to score points. Bootsy Dunstan, that's a great name, Bootsy, says 23-17 dem boys. So it looks like right now the only person watching this that's predicted against the Cowboys on Sunday is Adam Mancuda, who is not a Cowboys fan, but is our resident fantasy and gambling expert here on Phantom. So if you're not checking out Adam Mancuda's stuff, make sure to check out all the videos he produces all week to get great insight on fantasy, who to sit, who to start, who to trade, those kinds of things. Plus his gambling picks, although, again, he's picking against the Cowboys every week. So far, I believe he's, what does that make him? He definitely picked against the Jaguars last week, so he's an expert on everything other than the Cowboys. Just kidding. But also make sure if you have fantasy questions on Sunday to check out the All Out Blitz with Adam Mancuda right here every Sunday starting at 10:45 Central Time on Phantom. So you can have all your fantasy football questions answered. G. Garcia says our defense is going to get us that win. I predict 3 sacks, 2 INTs, 1 INT for a pick 6. LOL, damn cocky Cowboys fans, but it's the Deadskins. Got to be confident. I don't know that I would predict that much. My mother-in-law says happy anniversary. Thank you. Trying to make sure I'm getting to all the different pages we're broadcasting on. This is a good time to remind you to go check out our YouTube page. Just search Watch Phantom and make sure to hit the subscribe button on YouTube, where you'll get my daily stream every day, but also other great videos. There's 3 people watching right now. So shout out to all 3 of you watching on YouTube. 3, the dirty 3 right there. Make sure to hit the comments up if you got anything to say, and I will get to your comments as quickly as I possibly can. Trying to navigate to all these different pages and platforms as quickly as I possibly can. So shout out to all the different pages we're broadcasting through. All right, let's see here. Keith Price predicts 27-17 Cowboys. Brandon, is it Pusey? Wow, that's awfully close, Brandon. 20-17 Cowboys, and he's going to be there. Awesome, that'll be fun. If you aren't, make sure to go check out the Joe Boo tailgate. Cowboy Joe Boo does great work, and he's going to be out there. Gerald McDonald says, what's up, Ari? What's up, Gerald? How are you? Dean Cruisinger predicts 24-21 Cowboys. Zeke with 150 yards. JP Trimmer, big game midway through the year. These division games going a long way at the end of the year. Agreed. Solar says Butler or Thompson replaces Tavon. Agreed. Tyler Cutright in the house. What up, Tyler? It'll take allowing our weapons to be just that. Marshall Young says, is David Irving going to be suited up? Yeah. So this will be the first week in, man, seems like forever, where they will have their basically their full roster available. On defense. Sean Lee has full practice and participation yesterday, meaning he's going to be good to go. David Irving, Randy Gregory, the Malik Collins. So the Cowboys have had injury issues, especially on their defense, week in and week out. And this week, they're going to have their full group. And I know we've been talking about, well, Leighton Vander Esch and Jalen Smith are balling out. Do you really replace those guys right now? And, I mean, I think the Cowboys feel like the leadership that Sean Lee brings to the table, the different intangibles that he brings to the table that Leighton Vander Esch and Jalen Smith can't at this point are too valuable to not give him a ton of snaps. But I would imagine Sean Lee's snap count would be drastically cut. But so it's basically going to be, Sean Lee and Smith, Leighton Vander Esch and Smith, and then Sean Lee and Leighton Vander Esch. So you'll see kind of a rotation of those three, or a three rotation of those two guys. But it should be interesting to see. Brennan Pusey says I said his name right, which, thank God. Joe Deasy says put Austin on IR. See, I disagree with that. I think, would you do that to elevate Noah Brown or, who's the other guy that almost made the team? Whose name is escaping me right now, the undrafted free agent who had the best training camp of all. Who's the other receiver that I'm missing, guys? Noah Brown, and who's the other receiver that is he even still here? Or did he get cut? Now I'm trying to think. But I don't know. I think Austin has proved value, even though the production hasn't been great. But again, just because of what their offense, their pre-snap motion is dependent upon, I certainly think that he is of major value to this team. Lance Lenoir, thank you, Patrick Prescott. Lance Lenoir is who I was thinking about. Is he still? Did they cut him? I haven't seen him. I feel like I haven't seen him in the locker room in a while. They did cut him, didn't they? See, he's the guy that I think maybe you can elevate. But if Austin's out 5 to 7 weeks and the short-term IR is 8 weeks, I might take my chances and not really worry about Noah Brown or somebody else or Lance Lenoir or anybody else. He's practice squad. He might not be practice squad. He might have been cut, guys. Somebody Google it for me. I know he was initially practice squad, but I think he was then cut because even if you're practice squad, you still get a locker. You still are practicing with the team. So I would have seen him in the locker room of late, and I don't think I've seen him. I think they cut him early in the season to bring on somebody else. Somebody check that for me. Everybody's saying he's practice squad. Has that been Googled and checked? All right, on the Dallas Cowboys report page, Dahlia and Mike Martinez in the house. Bruno Encinas says Lenoir. And they're all saying Lenoir is on the practice squad. But again, I don't know that he still is, to be honest with you. He might have been cut. At any rate, I would Patrick Kahn of the house. What up, Patrick Kahn? Everybody, shout out to Patrick Kahn and check out Patrick Kahn on Twitter. He is at Draft Cowboys. Draft Cowboys, right? Do I have that right off the top of my head, Patrick? He's the man, though. He does great work, writes fantastic articles for WFAA and a lot of other publications. So Patrick Kahn's the man. He's awesome. Shout out to you, man. Is he? I thought he was cut. Why have I not seen him in the locker room? Maybe I'm just not looking for him. Okay, so Patrick Kahn and everybody else says he's been cut. Why WTF would you cut Lenoir? I thought I remembered them cutting him early in the season to bring somebody else onto the roster. That's the thing is they're constantly shuffling the bottom of their roster, right? Like they brought in C.J. Goodwin, and that's a constant cycle of guys they're bringing on their practice squad, guys they're bringing on their active roster. It's Jake Campos, Cody Wichman. These are just names you recognize from being in the locker room every week and seeing. And I just couldn't remember continuing to see Lance Lenoir. I thought he was cut early in the year. That's right. Draft Cowboys. Follow him on Twitter. Patrick Kahn's the best. He's the man. In fact, I've got to get Patrick on a show one of these days because he's awesome. First, I've just got to get a computer that allows me to live stream multiple people into a live stream, but that's neither here nor there. If you have not already, hit the share button. That would be great. Sharing is caring, and it's really easy to do. You just hit, if you're watching this on mobile, which I'm imagining most of you are, it's the button in the bottom left corner. Just hit it, and then post, and then post it, and then all your other friends who are Cowboys fans will see this and be like, oh, hey, there's a moron talking about the Cowboys. That should be fun and interesting. So, that's always cool. So I appreciate everybody who does that. I know a lot of you, the Showtimers that stream the show every day, do that. So I appreciate those that do. And even if you don't, that's cool. It's cool too. I get it. But I would appreciate you most certainly if you did. Just trying to cycle through all these pages. Shout out to all of our partners at Phantom, by the way. The Dallas Cowboys America's Team page. If you are not, make sure to go to that page and like it. Shout out to the Dallas Cowboys Really Real fan page. Shout out to the Dallas Cowboys Report. Shout out to Cowboys Nation, one word. Also shout out to Cowboys Report. Not the Dallas Cowboys report, but Cowboys report. And last but certainly not least, shout out to America's Fans, the Silver and Blue Club. Also a part of the Showtime Nation is what we'll start to call it. Let's see here. Lori Morales in the house. What's up, Lori? You're late. Keith Stone says one day I'll get that sharer tag. Yeah, some days it does, some days it doesn't. I don't know, guys. But I know Dakota and Keith Stone, you guys are sharing this thing every day. So cheers to you guys. So here's what I'm looking at from Washington. And continue to post your comments and hit the share button. But I wanted to give you my insight before I just, continue to scroll through the comments and answer and address those. So I did a quick film study on them, which you'll see posted on my page as well as the Facebook page. And they're very similar to the Cowboys. And what's interesting is they're more conservative than the Cowboys, which is crazy because the Cowboys are very conservative. But in their 2 losses this year, the Redskins are averaging 52 yards per game rushing. In their 3 wins this year, they're averaging 160 yards per game rushing. So they want to run the football. They're Alex Smithing their way down the field with short passes, checkdowns, and West Coast style of offense, right? The typical Alex Smith style of offense. And and then they Alex Smith their way down the field and then jam it in with Adrian Peterson. And they've had some success doing it. They also don't turn the football over and they turn other teams over. So it's a pretty simple formula for the Washington Redskins, right? They don't take a lot of risks. They don't take a lot of chances. They don't turn the ball over. And when they run the ball successfully, they win football games. The 2 factors for them winning this season are running 160 yards per game average when they win versus when they don't turn the ball over. And so when they're plus in the turnover ratio, they win. So when they rush the ball well and they're plus in the turnover ratio, they win. Now, this is a major departure from what they were in recent history because Kirk Cousins, as I've mentioned before, was capped at turnover. I mean, he's had 55 turnovers in his last 54 games. So he turned the ball over a lot. Last season, the Cowboys swept the Redskins, and they were +6 in that turnover ratio. They were +4 in one game and +2 in the next game. So that's not going to win them. That's not going to be the case this year for the Cowboys. They're not going to win the turnover battle. The only way they win the turnover battle if it's even, meaning they don't turn the ball over. So for me, the 2 things they have to do beyond anything they can do on offense, well, I guess not turn the ball over is offense, but don't turn the ball over. Do not turn the ball over. No, don't do it. And 2, stop the run, which the Cowboys have done a pretty good job of this season defensively. So if they can stop the run and then not turn the ball over, they'll win. But obviously Washington's recipe for success this season is well stated and well documented. So that's stop the run and don't turn the ball over. I think the obvious piece is we'll get Cole Beasley involved. And as I talked about yesterday, that wasn't yesterday. As I talked about on my podcast, which came out this morning, teams traditionally bracket Cole Beasley. They basically take him out, which is why you need a number 1 wideout, which we'll get into in a second when it comes to the philosophical decision-making by the Dallas Cowboys in the personnel department. But the reason that the Cowboys were so successful with Beasley last week is because the Jaguars didn't bracket Beasley. They went man-to-man with him. And the man that they put on him was the former Cowboys corner, Tyler Patman, who didn't do a very good job. And anytime Dak sees Cole single coverage, he's going to go there. The problem is most teams, and Washington's not going to be any different because they watch the film against Jacksonville and they see the success the Cowboys had and they're like, okay, we're gonna shut off that life valve. The thing is, Jacksonville was so cocky on defense, they thought, hey, we'll line straight up, we'll do what we do, and we'll beat you doing that. And obviously, that wasn't the case. Washington is going to bracket Cole Beasley, which means he's going to have single coverage, Dak will, on the outside. But that's been the problem with the receivers all year. Who's going to win those battles? Now, Bryce Butler said to me when I interviewed him, and again, he's the guest on my podcast this week, so go check it out. But Bryce Butler said he was a big part of the game plan last week, but through warm-ups before the game, he kind of hurt himself, and he was good to go, but Jason Garrett basically said, just shut it down and we'll let you go next week. That's what he told me. That he basically hurt himself in warming up before the game. He was going to be a big part of the game plan. That's what he said to me. He was going to be a big part of the game plan, but he hurt himself warming up and was then basically inactive, which kind of verifies what we heard all week, because it was like we thought that was the week that they were going to get Bryce Butler involved for whatever reason. Well, this week it's more important. Now, I mentioned the absence of Tavon Austin and Bryce. I was like, well, will that give you more snaps and more opportunities? And he was like, well, I play the X and Tavon plays the Z. So not really. But I wonder, because basically what he's saying is, well, I'll rotate with Michael Gallup. And that just seems like, if you've got a guy in Bryce Butler who's been waiting to get in the field, and you've got a guy in Tavon Austin who's not going to be available for the next month and a half, maybe it's an opportunity to kind of let him loose a little bit with Gallup, see what you've got. But I expect to see Bryce Butler get some snaps this week, and maybe he's the guy you target on the outside when teams are bracketing Cole Beasley, when the Skins bracket Cole Beasley. All right, let's see here. What is everybody saying in the comments? And again, the quickest way to have your comments heard is by going to the Phantom page at facebook.com/watchphantom. So please do that if you want to have your comments heard as quickly as possible. John Dyer says, so if Cole is getting doubled, isn't he our number one? Well, I will just go off of what Tony the Thrill Hill told me in the press box last week, and that is that he can't be number one because he's a complimentary piece. And that's, Tony the Thrill Hill is well, obviously he's a great receiver for the Cowboys in their history, but he also coached Cole Beasley in high school basketball. But what he meant by that is, yeah, if he's getting doubled, he could be viewed as the number one, but I think that's kind of inside out, whereas, traditionally your X receiver is the guy that's doubled, which then opens up Cole. And we see, like, because of where the Cowboys are, if they double and basically erase Cole Beasley, they don't really have outside matchups they can take advantage of. So, like, the idea is your number one is your X, he gets doubled, now Cole Beasley gets opportunity in the slot. The problem is when Cole Beasley gets doubled in the slot, the same opportunities aren't opening up on the outside. That's, I guess, the best way I can explain it. Now, that's probably more on personnel than anything else. Eric Koshaney says, yeah, Zeke should fly in this game, but we've had other games that Zeke should have done well, and we lose. Seattle game and Houston game. And look, I don't necessarily think, like, the strength of Washington's defense is in the interior of their defensive line. The best player on their defense, with apologies to Ryan Kerrigan, is Jonathan Allen, the second-year defensive tackle out of Alabama. And they obviously spent their last 2 first-round picks on interior defensive tackles from Alabama. Jonathan Allen and then Payne, Daron Payne. Payne is okay, but, Jonathan Allen's really, really good. And that's part of the reason that teams struggle to run against them, especially running in the middle. Perhaps, they call more outside zone. They run to the perimeter. That might be the better way to go this week with Zeke. But as I talked about yesterday with Dalton Miller, like, the way you can beat this defense is through the air. You have to. So in a lot of games where you're like, well, allow Zeke to open up the pass, I think it's kind of the opposite this week. Allow the pass to open up Zeke. Curtis Starks in the house. Steve Eason says, think they cut T-Will now? I do not. I think if they make a trade, and again, I'm going to get into that in a second here, they're going to end up cutting Allen Hurns. Now, let's see what Allen Hurns does this week. But he's just been a major disappointment, and I'd like to see them cut Allen Hurns. Lori Morales says, are we still trying to get Cooper? I don't think so, but maybe other players. I saw Adam Mancuda make a great suggestion, which I'm going to bring up here in a second. I've been on one guy in particular, but I know Adam Mancuda just made a really good suggestion, which I'll bring up here in a second. But this all goes into the Cowboys' philosophy and on how they build personnel and if it's the right approach or not, which I'll get into in a moment. Chris Bennett says, what's up, Ari? Happy anniversary. Thank you, Chris. Appreciate that. Keith Price says, like to see Gallup open more and catch something. Sure. Laz Flores in the house. Patrick Kahn says Cowboys are better on the edges. I agree for the most part. Unless Blake Jarwin's out there on the edge blocking, because Jarwin's not been very good in that capacity. Adam Mancuda says Amari Cooper blows away Thomas. He's in a terrible situation. No, totally agree. I'm not suggesting Demaryius Thomas is a better player than Amari Cooper. This is a value proposition for me. I'm not giving up our first or second round pick for Amari Cooper. Plus, I have to pay him a bunch of money. That's. I'm not suggesting go get Demaryius Thomas over Amari Cooper because Thomas is the better player. No, absolutely not. It's a value proposition based on what you'd have to give up and then how much it would cost against the cap in order to do so. What about Kenny Britt, though? Isn't he a free agent? I mean, if a guy is available right now, doesn't that kind of tell you all you need to know about him? Someone was saying DT is better than AC as a player. No. No. Britt is done. Yeah, I mean, if teams are like Michael Floyd is on a roster. Like I don't think the reason for Dez is I honestly don't think Dez wants to play. I mean, it's like Romo, where Romo got offers, but he just didn't want to play for anybody else. I think Dez is kind of in the same situation. Like there are very few situations he'd want to like. Maybe he'd go to New England, maybe he'd go to New Orleans, but probably those opportunities aren't available to him, and that's. I think that's why Dez hasn't signed. But, like, Michael Floyd is on a roster. So if Kenny Britt isn't, that should tell you all you need to know about Kenny Britt and where he is at his skill set. Let's see here. Ty Shelton says, get Thomas and cut Thompson or Hearns. Hearns is the guy I would cut. Eric Kashani says, yeah, Denver's shopping him and Raiders are shopping Amari Cooper. Cooper's coming off a concussion right now, though. Yeah, but I'm not... I mean, should I get into that now? Let me just quickly, before I get into the Cowboys' trade targets and who they should trade for and their philosophy on personnel, and why their ability to win a sixth title, which I know Solar, Anthony Donaldson, says that's all it's about. The Cowboys' ability to win a sixth title depends on their ability to change in this capacity, which I'll get into in a moment here. But let me just conclude on previewing Cowboys skins with this. Don't turn the ball over, stop the run. Those are the two ways to beat the Washington Redskins this season. So that's why I'm confident that the Cowboys are going to beat the Redskins because I think they can stop the run. I'm certainly worried about their ability to not turn the ball over, but I think coming off the momentum they had last week with their offense, they found some things that worked, and I think Dak has got some confidence about him that it shouldn't be a high-scoring affair, but it'll be enough to beat this team it's not as good as their record would indicate. I don't think the Redskins are a very good football team. I don't know how they're 3-2 other than, well, I mean, Carolina just looked horrible last week and Cam Newton turned the ball over, and Carolina had horrible turnovers throughout the game, which put Washington in great position. The Packers game is another one of those kind of weirdo games that they won somehow, but again, don't turn the ball over and stop the run, and you're going to beat the Washington Redskins. All right, I'm Ari Temkin. You can catch me as part of the Cowboys pre- and post-game show on 105.3 The Fan and the Dallas Cowboys Radio Network. And, of course, you can always catch me streaming live right here every day, Monday through Friday from 12 p.m. to 1 p.m. Central Standard Time. This is an interactive show. This is your show. It's the most interactive Dallas Cowboys show out there. So interact, post your comments, your thoughts, hit the share button. Tag friends of yours that are Cowboys fans. At Phantom, we are putting you in the center of the Dallas sports discussion. So, the second topic today is, can the Cowboys get their coveted sixth title with their current personnel philosophy? So, what is their current personnel philosophy? The Cowboys' current personnel philosophy is they are completely committed to draft and development. That's it. They draft and develop their own players. They reward the guys that are worthy of a second contract with a second contract. And anything they do from outside the organization is on a low-risk type situation. They shop in the bargain bin in free agency. They are not active in the first couple of weeks of free agency. They wait for all of the second and third tier guys to fall through the cracks, and then they pounce. They pounce when the price is right. The Cowboys shop for free agency at Dollar General. Nothing wrong with that. Nothing wrong with that. I love Dollar General. There's one right by my house. But that's the reality of it. They used to shop at Barney's. They used to go and just, on the first day of free agency, hand out contracts of the best player available at the position they needed. That was how they used to do it. And it was not a good philosophy for multiple reasons. So they've overcorrected to the other direction now. Well, they have to change that. You cannot exclusively build a championship team through the draft. The core of your team, you can. You can absolutely, in fact, that's the only way to build a championship team. The core of your roster, 80% of your roster has to be drafted and developed guys. But the other 20% is where you missed, where you didn't have the resources to draft, where you've got to supplement the areas you have not fulfilled in the draft through free agency. The Cowboys said this offseason they didn't need a number one wide receiver. They did. They absolutely did. And I don't know if they were lying or if they just said it, because they believed it. I'm prone to believe they're lying because, of course, you need a number one wide receiver. Now, again, they shopped to the bargain bin for wide receivers. They did want to make a push for Sammy Watkins, but, were they outbid? That's what I'm prone to believe. Right? Like they made a push for Watkins, but Kansas City probably offered more. Now that's turned out to be a bad deal for Kansas City, and who knows what Watkins would be doing in Dallas. But the point remains, they shopped to the bargain bin in free agency and ended up with Allen Hurns, who's basically Nolan Carroll on offense this season. So I don't know if this philosophy is tied into the salary cap hell that they've been in. Like maybe they've had this philosophy recently because they've been trying to dig themselves out of salary cap hell. And next year they will be. Next year's the first year where they won't be settled with dead money from Tony Romo, Dez Bryant, or Jason Witten. They are free and clear of dead money after this season. So maybe that was part of the plan. Get their contract situation finally in order, and then at that time, then go spend some money in free agency. Now, again, they're going to re-sign DeMarcus Lawrence. He's going to command big-time money. He'll probably get Khalil Mack type money. They're probably going to re-sign Byron Jones. He's going to get big-time money. They may re-sign Cole Beasley, but they might not, depending on the cost. But three positions that stand out that say, go sign guys. Well, number one is wide receiver. It's really difficult to transition from college to the NFL and have success as a wide receiver. We're seeing that with Michael Gallup. We see that with the amount of, or lack of, 1,000-yard receivers in the NFL in recent history. So to say, well, just go draft a wide receiver number one, well, that's a project then. It's going to take a few years for them to become that number one. So supplement that, see what Michael Gallup is next year, and then go spend some money in free agency on a guy you think could be a number one. Safety. Upgrade safety. Do it. Earl Thomas. Go get him. Tight end maybe, depending on how Jeff Swaim finishes the rest of the year, but I think Jeff Swaim has performed nicely. But those are the three, and then maybe an offensive tackle. Maybe, I still don't know. Tyron Smith at times is still dominant, but then he gets beat way more often now than he ever had in his career. But you're not going to sign a left tackle and throw Tyron Smith to the curb, but you can certainly use help along your offensive line. So again, the only way the Cowboys can win a sixth championship is if they change their philosophy just a smidgen. They went from 11 to 1 on the volume, and now they got to turn the volume to 3, meaning, yes, this is the way you build a championship roster. I said that for years when the Cowboys just built through free agency and couldn't draft well, and it's like, you're not going to win this way. But you're also not going to win this way. Before the volume was too loud, now it's too soft, nobody can hear. You have got to supplement where you didn't hit in the draft in free agency. They're not going to win a sixth title building the way they built. They're not. Let's see here. John Dyer says Swaim Rico will be fine. I think I agree with you there. David Alejandre says we need a backup quarterback, perhaps. Kerry Teagle says Beasley believes he's the best slot player in the game. He might be at this point. Trying to think who's a better... Like, don't let the production fool you. This guy is a very skilled slot receiver, but none of slot guys are standing out to me, at least right now. Let's see here. Let me try to catch up on some of these comments here. And then after this, I want to get into, will the Cowboys make a move right now, and are there some potential names they should potentially go after? Laura Morales says, as long as they stay on the same page, use Beasley and be able to convert on third down, especially in the red zone. Also stay away from penalties and we'll be okay. Billy Burke says 3 or 5 yard passes are done with good tackling. Billy Burke also says, no, you can't win number 6 with this scouting policy. So that's what I'm asking you to comment or vote with your emojis. Vote with your emojis. Thumbs up if you think they should make a trade. Heart emoji if you think they should spend in free agency. Or laughing emoji if what they have right now is the right approach. And I'm laughing at that as a viable answer. But nonetheless, it's an answer. Jason Turner says, still think a playmaking wide receiver would help, even if we don't throw it up and down the field, just an added dimension. Yes. And as I discussed before with Tavon Austin, remember, Austin affects the game even when he's not producing, even when he's not catching balls. So who will be that guy now? I mean, they seemingly don't have it beyond Zeke. Laura Morales says, also, as much as I love Dak, I think he'll just keep improving with the experience of time. One of the problems I still see, even in the last week's game, is he still seems to get nervous under pressure, and as a result, mistakes are made. I don't know. He just doesn't seem to have confidence in himself as he did his rookie year. Well, and look, as Tracy Foster. What's up, Tracy Foster? How are you? She's on the Phantom page now. Boom. Way to come over. Warren Merle on Phantom says, I wonder what ET will bring to the table coming off a broken leg in his age. Good point. And I wonder what kind of money he's going to be looking at. Look, as for Dak, and based on what Laura Morales was saying, I said coming into this year that I thought 70-30, Dak was the guy, 30% he was not, just based on what we had seen through 2 years. I'd say at this point, it's at best 50-50. If he's the guy, if he's not the guy. It's probably even worse. Probably 60-40, he's not the guy. 40% he is the guy. So it's changed dramatically in 6 weeks. Now, to that point, the development of a quarterback is a long process. And we just don't allow quarterbacks to mature and develop anymore. I mean, this is year 3 for him. That still is part of the development of a quarterback. It's unfair to quarterbacks. But Troy Aikman said a few weeks ago, you can't teach accuracy. You can't teach accuracy. That's why he was a 4th-round draft pick, guys. Because he wasn't accurate in college. And I think that was one of those things that his first year, he was accurate. It was weird. He was not accurate in practice his rookie year, but he was accurate in games. And it was like, well, he's a gamer. When the lights are on, he's a gamer. And I think, like analytically, you can't really do anything with that. And so the truth of the matter is, he's not a gamer. He's just not his accuracy is inconsistent, which is a problem in the National Football League. And that's what I keep going back to is, yeah, he still is developing. And so the nervous, young quarterbacks are always going to make mistakes when they're rushed. You're going to see those happy feet. Like that's just the product of a young quarterback not being comfortable. But it's the accuracy thing that I just can't get away from. Mike Wellman says, whoever Tom Brady throws to is a better slot receiver. Michael Lafferty says, late to the show. What's up, all? All good, Michael. Just hit the share button and we'll be even. G. Garcia says, when we win this game, everyone's going to be saying the same thing. Oh, Redskins aren't that good. I won't be saying that. And I mean, they're not good, but it doesn't matter. This is an important game and an important win for them to have. Dalton Miller brought up the analytics on it yesterday, but if they win this game, they've got about a 50% chance to make the playoffs. If they lose this game, they have a less than 15% chance to make the playoffs, which is, that's obviously huge. It's a huge dramatic shift at this point in the season. So this week is the latest must-win game of the week. Next week, it'll probably be the same thing, even though it's a bye. But yeah, you want to win your divisional games. Those are the most important games in your schedule. You win more of those, you're traditionally going to win the division. I don't care if Washington's bad. Beat them. That's it. Solar says, WTF is a gamer, not a real thing. Agreed, Solar. But it was weird. His rookie year, I mean, in preseason, I remember watching him being like, "Oh God, he's not good. He's all over the place with his throws." In training camp, not in preseason, in training camp, in practices, but when he plays in preseason games, he was good his rookie year, and then the whole season he was good. That's why I was like, well, I guess he's a gamer. But you're right, Solar. What the hell is a gamer? That makes no sense. You either have certain traits that make you a quality player, or you don't. And I think what we've seen in the ensuing 2 years is the accuracy is a problem. It continues to be an issue for him. Yeah, Solar says can't compare 4 to 9. Of course not. Haven't checked, but where are we playing? I know I should know, LOL. In Washington. Juan Carlos Algeria Ruiz posted something in Spanish. But the only word I got in Spanish was con Romo. No se puede comparar a un Dak con Romo. Ooh. I'm going to translate that. There's no comparison between Dak and Romo. Right, Juan? Believe so. Ty Shelton says if they win this game, I think they'll put them in the discussion for a legit contender in the playoffs. Yeah. Obviously. Absolutely. G. Garcia says, why can't you teach accuracy? I taught my 8-year-olds accuracy. Well, because, I mean, I don't think it's the same. G, I love you, buddy, but it's not the same. You're talking about an NFL player versus an 8-year-old. Eric Kashani says Jacksonville isn't good. Their quarterback is trash, and their defense isn't even close to what they were last season. Well, Eric, they were number 1 in yards per game defense, number 3 in scoring defense coming into the game. So, I mean, maybe you felt like that after the game, but I mean, you're right. Jacksonville's bad at offense, but they had a really, really good defense coming into that game through 5 weeks. Keith Stone says my Spanish is great. Awesome. That's fantastic. And Lauren Morales says, I was right. You can't compare Dak and Romo, which, by the way, I translated it absolutely correct, which I'm excited about. And not because I speak Spanish fluently, but because I can kind of read and kind of understand what it says. Off the top of my head, apparently. Or it was just words that made sense. Okay, I'm Ari Temkin. This is Phantom, putting you at the center of the Dallas sports discussion. If you have not yet already, hit the share button. Because sharing is caring and we're all friends, and let's do that. So I did want to bring up some names. So I've been talking a lot about Demaryius Thomas, which you all know by now. I just see that there's a low risk in bringing in Demaryius Thomas. And he's a legitimate number 1 wideout that's produced every year despite bad quarterback play for the Broncos. I think he could be had for a pretty cheap cost, considering they're going to cut him after this year. He's going to make $17 million against the cap next year, but only $3.3 million in dead money if you cut him. So the Cowboys trade a 5th or a 6th for him, use him as a half-year rental, see what he is, cut him, and then potentially re-sign him to a more cap-friendly deal. Adam Mancuda brought up Kelvin Benjamin, another good name potentially to think of. Anybody else have any other suggestions? I just think Amari Cooper is really, really good. It's too much to pay. I'm not giving up a 1st or a 2nd round pick for Amari Cooper. I'd rather use that to upgrade. I'd rather use that to spend on a quarterback in the 1st round, or a wide receiver, or offensive tackle. Yeah, I just have way too many areas I need to fulfill through the draft that I'm not gonna spend that on Amari Cooper, who's a really good football player, by the way, and the best available receiver right now, without question. He's only 24, guys, but it's too much money to pay and too much to give up in draft capital. Let's see here. Keith Stone says, I don't agree on Kelvin Benjamin at all. Why not? Dakota Stiegel says, I thought we'd go after Landry this offseason. Tracy Foster says, gracias, Ari, LOL. Gracias. G. Garcia says, I'm going to message you later because we got to talk about this doubting our boys. Doubting what? Doubting that you can teach your 8-year-old accuracy? No, what I'm doubting is the comparison between teaching an 8-year-old accuracy versus teaching a guy. Like, don't you think Dak has, throughout the course of his career, been taught certain things to account for accuracy? But that, like, what I'm saying is, it's not like Dak's gotten through his whole career and they're like, man, we should have taught him how to be more accurate. Plus, again, Troy Aikman said you can't teach accuracy. And I know, according to Stephen Jones, he's just another one of those, armchair quarterbacks. But, Troy Aikman said you can't teach accuracy. So, there's that. Crazy question from Ty Shelton says, the Cowboys do the unthinkable, go out to get Michael Thomas from the Saints? That's just a dream scenario, man. I know it won't happen. Yeah, why would the Saints get rid of Michael Thomas? Tyler Cutright says, I think Nelson has been the Hearns for Oakland now. I know why we didn't look at him. Nelson. Oh, Jordy Nelson. Yeah, good point. He said I was talking to Eric Ari. Oh, okay. Sorry, buddy. Jesse Garcia says Hart in free agency, which means spend in free agency, which I agree with. Let me check back in on some of these other pages. We're broadcasting on America's Fans, the Silver and Blue Club. Shout out to all you watching across that page. What else do you guys want to talk about? That's any other names you want to throw out there? People don't seem to be in on the Kelvin Benjamin discussion. Rudy Laredo says hello. Hello, Rudy. How are you? You can't teach a quarterback to be great. You either got it or you don't. From Joe Tranchina in Sicily. Agreed. Lori Morales says the difference is an NFL player should have accuracy down by now. You can probably teach a youngster, but at a certain level, it's on them. Either you got it or you don't. Exactly. Eric Kashani says, bye, guys. See you, E. Easy E out. Was it something I said, Easy? Dallas fan. It's a good name. Says, I think Dak may be better if there was a better quarterback coach. Here's the thing, and I know we've talked about this. There are quarterbacks that are better based on coaching and scheme. I'm not paying that guy $100 million. That's what it comes down to. You pay guys $100 million to play quarterback that transcends scheme and coaching. Guys that are good regardless. Which means when they have really good coaching and scheming, they're even better. But, you can use anybody at quarterback for the most part if it's about scheme and coaching, right? You don't have to go out there and give Dak Prescott this huge contract. You can bring in anybody to do it if you've got the right coaching staff that can install schemes that fit a certain player skill set. Quarterback coach and scheme can help. Don't get me wrong. It absolutely can help. But I'm not spending a bunch of money on that guy. That's it. I'm spending a bunch of money on a guy that transcends that. Charity Russ in the house. What up, Charity Russ? How are you? Also, Bruno Encinas says, I totally agree with you, Ari, on the philosophy. Thank you, Bruno. Jason Wright in the house says, what's up, Ari? Jason, how are you? Also says, go spend in free agency. Look, if I were running the Cowboys, I would make a trade. I would make a trade for Demaryius Thomas. It's not something that happens a lot at this point of the season. Most teams, again, football is about cohesion, unity, guys being on the same page. So it's difficult to trade for a guy midseason and have that guy be successful. But the Cowboys, they were wrong about this idea of they can be fine without a number one. And what I can get Demaryius Thomas for, and then moving forward with that contract, that is completely okay with me. But again, if they don't, they could still be a playoff team, but it's hard for me to believe they would because what they did last week on offense is going to be tough to duplicate because teams are going to double Cole Beasley and they're not going to be able to win on the outside because that's what's happened all year. All year that's what happened, and that's why they scored 16.6 points per game coming into that game against Jacksonville. Now, maybe we'll see in Washington something a bit different, but so far, they can't win on the outside. They don't get good release. Tracy Foster says Dak needs to avoid sacks. Agreed. Michael Lafferty says, plus he's Dez times 100 in drama. Who's that? OBJ? Dakota Stiegel says, did anybody see my crazy proposal? I thought it was pretty funny. No, I did not. What was it, Dakota? Blaine Ornick says, I miss Bryce Butler. I still would have tried to keep him. Well, Blaine, good news. He's on the team. They brought him back, and you're going to see him a lot on Sunday. So, sorry you missed him, but he's back. And was back after week 2, I believe. Let's see here. Tyler Cutright says Dak also has to throw to receivers that have perfect balls to maybe catch. A guy like OBJ can catch almost anything, unfortunately. Well, sure, but I mean, like, who's the top 5 receivers in the league right now? Antonio Brown, DeAndre Hopkins, OBJ. I mean, there's not a lot of those guys. So, yeah, the Cowboys would like to have one of those guys, but they don't. I mean, and they didn't in Dez. With apologies to Solar, who believes that. But Dez not a top 5 receiver in the game today. Not. Dak, Dakota Stiegel says first and second round pick with Beasley and Hearns and trade for Hopkins. I mean, wow. Would Houston accept the Cowboys' first and second round draft picks for DeAndre Hopkins? Probably not. No. Maybe 2 first round picks, but definitely not a first, a second, and Cole Beasley or Allen Hearns. You know, not draft picks and then garbage. Cole Beasley's not garbage, but Hearns is, and Beasley's not going to move the needle when it comes. Because, again, Beasley's not a number 1. He's a complementary piece. You know, he's a guy that's not going to make your offense go, but he's a guy that when you've got a legitimate X, a number 1, Demaryius Thomas, then he's made all the better. All right, let's see. Let me check back in on YouTube, which I haven't done in a while. I'm also going to make my prediction, my official prediction here. And if you have not yet already, go ahead and do that. Jeremy Pearlstein in the house on YouTube. He says, check YouTube, LOL. Sorry, Jeremy. My bad. Jeremy Pearlstein says, hey, Ari, why do you think it took 6 weeks for Dallas to play like we did in 2016? Last game was like a throwback to how well-rounded we were in 16. Is this sustainable? The quarterback run game, short pass. Also says short passing, dink and dunk type offense. I hope last game wasn't an outlier. I like to think that we're just now getting hot. Tell me what you think. Cole Beasley was a really, really good player for them in 2016. Well, they had Dez on the outside, and since Cole's a complementary piece, when teams had to double Dez, Cole got open. Well, every team defensively since that season has gone in with a game plan to take out Cole Beasley. So the Cowboys are like, all right, we'll beat you on the outside with one-on-one situations, and they haven't. So the Jacksonville game was a departure from that because Jacksonville played them straight up across the board. And not only that, but they played Tyler Patman on him, which is a former Cowboy. So, and they knew how bad he was. So the Cowboys were fortunate that Jacksonville was that confident, in a sense, that they'd be able to beat the Cowboys playing that way. The Cowboys' offense had that much success last week because of Cole Beasley. Well, because their offensive line played exceedingly well against a really, really good defensive front, but because Jacksonville played Cole Beasley straight up. And, you know, I mean, Beasley's the best receiver they have. But the issue is teams, and we're going to see this again against Washington, they're going to bracket him. So will Dak take chances by throwing into Beasley in double coverage, or will they take their chances on the outside where they've got one-on-one matchups? But that's the answer there. And my apologies, Jeremy, for taking so long to get back to you on YouTube. All right, let me make my prediction. Let's see here. Dakota Stiegel says 24-17 Dallas. Warren Merle says 35-17 Dallas. Henry Munoz says 20-10 Cowboys. Yeah, I think 35-17 it's a lot. It's a lot of points. Let's see here. I'm going to go... I've always got to account for a bunch of field goals because it is the Dallas Cowboys and it is Jason Garrett. He loves the field goal. So, my prediction, which I haven't even thought about, I think I predicted like 19-13 last week, Jacksonville. And that sounds about right this week. So I'll go ahead and predict 19-13 Cowboys. Cowboys win this one 19-13. All right, shout out to everybody watching this. Thank you to Jeremy Pearlstein over on YouTube. Thank you to all you watching across all the different channels and platforms. Appreciate you guys. Again, this is your show, so it only works with you guys, and I love you guys. You guys are the best. You guys make the show what it is. So shout out to all the Showtimers that stream this show every day that are part of this community that we're growing. Michael Lafferty, Tyler Cutright, Jesse Garcia, Ty Shelton, Kerry Teagle, Henry Munoz, Warren Merle, Dakota Stiegel, Chris Bennett, Tracy Foster, Jason Wright, Lori Morales, Jason Turner, Anthony Donaldson, Solar, Steve Eason, who am I missing? Patrick Prescott, Tyler Cutright, I think I got him twice, but that's all good. Neil Favre, and everybody else. You guys make this show what it is. If this is your first time watching, I invite you to come back each and every single day at 12 o'clock Central, right here on Phantom. Phantom puts you at the center of the Dallas sports discussion. Of course, check out the Cowboys Beat podcast, which I post on my page. Of course, the Dallas Cowboys pregame show on 105 through the Fan locally in Dallas. We start at 12:30 on Sunday and across the Dallas Cowboys Radio Network. And then Monday, I'm doing a daily talk show again. Sirius XM Big 12, channel 345 on your Sirius XM radios, 7 a.m. to 10 a.m. So I'll go 7 a.m. to 10 a.m. Big 12. Then I'll get ready for this stream at 12 noon on Monday. So I'll see you all back here Monday. But for now, I'm out. Peace, everybody. Have a great weekend. Enjoy the game.